welcome everyone to this session on World Language Credit Testing and the Seal of Biliteracy, 10 years experience in Seattle. So my name is Dr. Thad Williams, and I'm the International Education Administrator here in Seattle Public Schools, and get the privilege and opportunity to work with many of our students and teachers with world language and dual language, and the world language credit testing is an important part of that. And so I'm excited in my second year of this role to be able to share a little bit about the current work we're doing, which was really laid by the foundational work of Dr. Aoki, who you're about to hear from, and just many others over the past several years. And so we're excited to reflect back on 10 years of work and share that with you in this brief session. So Michelle, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm Michelle Ancio Aoki, and I retired last year as International Education Administrator from Seattle Public Schools. And I had the wonderful gift of having Thad take the position, so it's been great to continue collaborating. I have worked on this work for a very long time, and we'll be sharing a little bit of that history. A lot of the work in Seattle was done in very close partnership with Malgorzata or Gosha Stone, who was a bilingual coach for Seattle Public Schools. And we worked together even when I worked for the state. And we did collaborative work around testing. And so she has also contributed to our presentation today.
So just as we kind of approach this presentation and think about our work, something that is at the very much core of our passion just as educators is language and the power of language. And I know for myself as a native English speaker, but someone who learned Spanish throughout life, I've been able to understand a little bit of that. But I think even more importantly, hearing it from many of our bilingual students and their families, what that experience means to them is what really drives us to do this work around making sure students are valued and are receiving credits for their language when possible, even if we need to be innovative about how that happens and sometimes think outside of our traditional course structures. And really just making sure that we are really reflective of the many different linguistically diverse students and families we have in our district as we think about our programs and policies. And so these are two quotes here that I just wanted to quickly reflect on as we get started, and we'll have a chance to actually hear directly from both of these individuals later on in a video. And so Genesis just shares, language is part of our heritage, it is a part of our roots, and it is a part of our culture. It is our everyday life. Giving value to that is always very important, and making students always feel welcome and always feel supported. And that is very much at the core of what we want to do a better job of and keep trying to do here in Seattle Public Schools. And then another community member shared, our language is our representation of who we are. And so I think important to just keep thinking about how are we helping create systems and structures that allow students to do that.
I'm going to share a little bit of the history of how Seattle got to this place. And it really all began when I took a position as World Languages Program Supervisor at the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, our state educational agency. And the question came up of why can't students earn credits for languages they know? In particular, a lot of students are learning in Chinese schools, for example, on Saturdays, or Russian schools, but they may represent multiple districts, and it was really onerous for those community-based programs to work with individual districts to offer credits. And so when I got to the state office, I met with a friend who worked at the State Board of Education, Kathy Taylor, and she said, we have a Gates Foundation grant on competency-based testing, and no subject areas seem to be interested at the moment in getting involved in that. I said, well, we are ready to tackle that with world languages. And so they set up a study group for about a year. We piloted some testing with students at the high school level and the college level to make sure that whatever we recommended would be something that colleges would accept. And we decided that the best way to implement it would be through model policy and procedure, outlining how districts could offer these competency-based credits. And the State Board of Education endorsed that in 2010. And Seattle was one of the first two districts to offer the testing to students in the spring of 2011. And in 2012, Veronica Gallardo, who is Seattle's Director of Bilingual Education and now works at our state level, applied for a Gates Foundation grant to fund and expand the testing in 7 districts in South King County, including Seattle. that had very diverse populations and were part of a special program called the Roadmap Roadmap Program, or the Roadmap Project. And this program, the World Language Credit Program, gave us funding from the Gates Foundation to really roll it out and make sure we had equitable access for students that came from really over 70 languages. In those districts, we have often over 110 to 130 languages. I was at the state office of OSPI, as I mentioned, and so I was the project director. So one of the things we did is try to figure out a way to convey to students and families how this worked. So it was pretty simple. Determine if you're eligible, like can you read and write and speak your language, take the tests, and then get the credits. And over the years, OSPI, our state agency, has approved a variety of assessments that some of them are specifically listed in the model procedure that I mentioned before, and some of them have been added as we've located additional testing to ensure that we could serve all languages. And so some of them are listed here. One of the things that made it possible to actually initiate this effort was when the standards-based measurement of proficiency became available it was in about 2007 or so from Avant Assessment. Because it was an economical test, it tested all 4 skills, and it was oriented to students from middle school through adulthood, so that we felt confident about giving it to high school students. However, when we started using the ACTFL assessments, the OPI or OPIC and the WPT, the writing proficiency test with high school students, we discovered they could also do really well on them. And so then we had more confidence that the tests that were generally available across the country for testing proficiency could work for us. And we've worked tirelessly to make that happen.
So kind of in thinking about not only the assessments offered, but then how we made that connection with how students were earning credits, we looked at the proficiency level kind of layout and scale. And so when it comes to the question of how are credits earned for students who are completing these tests for the languages they speak, credit is granted if students meet the following levels of proficiency based on the ACTFL proficiency guidelines. And so we see in order for a student to earn 1 credit, we are looking at the novice mid level. And for 2 credits, novice high, intermediate low for 3, and then intermediate mid or higher for 4 credits. And we kind of go through a process as a district where once the results come back, we're able to look at those results and then draft letters that go out not only to the students and families, but also to the counselors at the schools to be able to follow a process to make sure that students are not only going through the process of earning these credits as they take the assessments, but then gaining those credits on transcripts and that people know about those credits.
Yeah, and it might be worth mentioning that the way it's set up in our state, the course codes are the state course codes for those languages for each of those levels, but the districts generally make a special course code that identifies it as competency-based credits. So our state can track how many students are earning credits through competency-based credit testing. And that's why we know that a lot of students are earning 3 and 4 credits from that. But the great thing is that even students, especially heritage students that aren't very literate in their language, they may still be able to earn at least 1 or 2. And that really gives them encouragement to keep working on their literacy skills so that maybe they could add those other 2 credits. So a very exciting thing happened in 2014. After several years of advocacy by world languages and English language learner advocates in the state, and especially from One America, and there's a group standing kind of in the middle there that were very involved with the World Language Credit Testing Grant that I mentioned a few minutes ago, plus a student who was showing his certificate that he got from earning credits from testing in Arabic. And we were at the signing ceremony here for the Seal of Biliteracy, the State Seal of Biliteracy in 2014. The great thing about that effort was that it was very bipartisan. The senator on the right with the red jacket who sponsored it, the Senate supported it 100%, and she's a Republican, and the Democrat behind the student with the test taking results got the results in the House as well. So as a culmination of that Gates Foundation grant, we were able to produce a video in 2014, even though that seems like a long time ago, it's still very relevant. So we want to share it right now because it captured really these sentiments about why this opportunity was important to students and to families and to administrators and teachers.
Yeah, that's right. So it's about a 5 minute long video. We are going to go ahead and view it together. So I'm going to transition sharing my screen to the video. If for some reason you're experiencing lag in the video, we've included the link there and it's available on YouTube if you would prefer to just maybe pause the session and view the video and then come back. Okay.
Spanish.
Spanish.
Amharic. French.
Farsi.
Arabic.
Language is part of our heritage and it is part of our roots and it's part of our culture and it's our everyday life. Giving value to that is always very important and making students always feel welcome and always feel supported.
This is our background. Our language is kind of our representation of who we are. So it was very important for me to teach her Spanish at home. So we speak English here because we're in America, but we come from Mexico, so it's very important for us to know where we come from in our language.
The South King County region is extremely diverse. Just in this region alone, we have over 160 languages, and 40% of our incoming kindergartners are English language learners. The World Language Credit Program officially recognizes students who come into the schools with knowledge of another language. And for many of our kids, this is one of the first times that they've actually been able to get credit and be recognized for a skill that they've learned at home.
I never thought that like Amharic would be a language that was known or that I would get credit for, let alone, people knowing of the language. So when I found out about it, I was like, I can't believe my language is being recognized and I get to take this test to get my credit.
Students have the opportunity to earn up to 4 credits. They take exams in reading, writing, and oral. Depending on how they perform, they can earn up to the 4 full credits that are part of their high school graduation credits. It allows them to take other classes that they need because they've already earned these other credits for their language.
It actually builds positive identity in our kids. It connects them deeper to their home language, to their heritage, to their culture, and it allows students to bring their whole selves to the classroom as opposed to leaving who they are at home outside of the classroom. So the World Language Credit Program started in 2 districts in our region, Seattle and Highline. This community impact project called the Roadmap Project is a community effort to raise achievement for our students and close the growing opportunity gap.
The 2 districts that started, Highline and Seattle, it's now expanded to 7 in the roadmap, plus a number of other large districts around the state that have also embraced the opportunities.
Tukwila School District represents over 80 languages, which is pretty typical for the districts in our area. One of the things that's really fantastic about the program is that it doesn't matter what language you speak, so it offers everyone an opportunity to earn the credits, not just a specific few. All we had to do was recruit the students and make sure that they were there on testing day. From there, it was really easy.
The success of this program really was about collective impact. It was about everyone coming together. So they all embraced it. In fact, they all tested way more kids than we ever envisioned within the very first year, and even more the second year.
We've had over 1,000 students in our region test and get credit for knowledge of their home language. And potentially, this opportunity would be open to the 120,000 students in our region.
When parents find out that we have this program that values their native language and that we're going to give their kids coaching and help them to earn credits toward high school graduation, they're thrilled.
I think it's great that they're bringing in more of the diversity to the schools about letting kids know that it's okay for them to be different and speak another language and actually get credited for it.
And now all the kids who graduate from this year on will have that seal of biliteracy on their diploma when they graduate with those world language credits.
The exam would allow you to get the seal of biliteracy, which is something that I absolutely would love to be able to get accepted into college and have me as a unique candidate in their campus.
We're part of a global economy, so having kids be able to manifest those skills and have it recognized by the state is really a big deal.
I I think it's great because now we're all able to really show our colors, where we come from, how we grew up, and that's through our language. We're able to connect with others as well, and it opens opportunities being able to speak another language and being recognized for that.
I felt honored because that's my language. I don't really use it that often. I just use it at home. At school, I'm afraid to use it. So to have this chance, it was like honoring my language, honoring my people, like not forgetting where we came from. So it was big deal. It was big deal for me and for my family.
It's really exciting. It's innovative, it's different, and it's a way that we've been able to embrace the unique and diverse strengths that our many communities bring to our schools.
Anybody that has a language needs to develop it further and maintain it and be an asset. Those are the opportunities that will really make a difference in kids' lives and the future of the United States.
Aprendan español.
Appris le français.
مهارك انشغال.
تعلم اللغة العربية.
فارسی رو یاد بگیر.
Aprende español.
All right, so thank you for taking time to do that with us.
International American School.
So we'll go on back to our presentation. You can see some of those students that had gone down to the legislature to advocate for the Seal of Biliteracy because they'd already done the World Language Credit testing, so they knew that they were going to earn credits, and that was really exciting.
And so that video is available in our PowerPoint here if you would like to view it again or share it with others.
So one of the things was how to transition from the World Language Credit testing, which we've been doing for a number of years, to the Seal of Biliteracy, which officially became available to us in 2015. Fortunately, in Seattle, since we'd already been testing for so many years, we had everything in place to do that because the World Language Credit testing was one of the methods that you could, one of the criteria that could be used for the Seal of Biliteracy. Our biggest challenges, honestly, when we started the Seal of Biliteracy was figuring out how to get the data for advanced placement, AP, and International Baccalaureate, IB test results, because those tests were always administered very decentrally and locally at the different schools with the different teachers, and the teachers are gone in the summer when the results come in. So that was a bit of a challenge. And then the other thing, of course, is that once we had the Seal of Biliteracy, we really wanted to expand the opportunities, the times and places for students to participate in the World Language Credit testing to make sure they had an access to the Seal of Biliteracy. And then there's the issue of transferring the data to the state, and that's been an ongoing challenge, but it's an important one. It's great to do these things and to benefit the individual students, but you change systems when you keep track of the data, and if the data is not accurate, then you're not really reporting what's going on. The other kind of transition that we needed to do in Seattle, I had been working with Seattle on its dual language immersion program since 2000. So we had already been testing with a variety of assessments, the ALOPA and SOPA from Cal, and then the STAMP when it first came out, and NOELA when it first came out for a number of years. But when we began the World Language Credit testing and then the Seal of Biliteracy, the 8th grade benchmark was a perfect time to be testing the students at the end of 8th grade to earn world language credits that they would actually get posted on their transcript when they got to high school. So our students in the Japanese, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese programs all test normally in the spring of 8th grade, and they can qualify for 1 to 4 high school credits. And if they earn the 4 credits, they automatically qualify as proficient for the State Seal of Biliteracy.
Yeah, and as a district, we're still kind of working through what this, or I guess continuing to just kind of refine and work through what this looks like in terms of not only providing an opportunity that I think is a really important kind of benchmark in terms of that 8th grade level and thinking about how does this not only support students in earning credits, but kind of indicate or be another one of our benchmark indicators of where our dual language students are at, but also at some of the other grades that can really inform, instruction and just think about what patterns are we seeing in terms of the listening, reading, writing, speaking domains of students within our programs and across our languages that we offer. And so to kind of give one quick example, we typically across our 5 dual language elementary schools will offer this in 5th grade. This past year with the COVID-19 pandemic, there were obvious challenges with offering testing in the spring. And so as an example, as soon as tomorrow actually, and next week, we're working with our middle schools at the 6th grade team to just offer this assessment and be able to kind of look at where we're at and then have that as another indicator and data point as we examine our student progress throughout the dual language program. Kind of to get into one logistical piece in terms of how do we test as a district and how have we done that previously and hope to continue that when we're back in a physical setting, as well as how we're doing it in a remote setting. So we are fortunate that Seattle Public Schools is funding our testing right now for world language credit testing. And that has varied over time from year to year, but right now it is something that we've been able to establish is very much a priority and very much a part of our strategic plan that focuses on equity. And so, you know, based on what those funds are available, we have at times prioritized 11th and 12th graders in the fall for testing, really thinking about earning credits. And then throughout the year, we've been able to add other grade levels. Last year and this year, we were in a position where we were able to open up testing for all students 9th through 12th grade, and then focus on testing students in 8th grade in the spring that are either qualified as English language learners or are in our dual language programs. We have, when in a physical setting, not during a pandemic, we have really taken 2 different approaches to testing, both that I think are really important. And so one is a centralized approach where we have a testing site at Seattle World School, a site that many of our students and families can get access to and are familiar with. And we offer testing there once a month on Saturday. And again, our phenomenal colleague, Gosha Stone, who's not here today, has really just been kind of the heartbeat to that operation in terms of just organizing it, helping with proctoring, communicating with students. And it definitely is a team effort, but she does phenomenal work with that. And so really thankful for her. And while she's not here, definitely plays an integral part to that. And then the second piece is we have been really just trying to figure out if there are opportunities at some of our high schools to offer world language credit testing, either on like an early release Wednesday after school or potentially another after school option. And so it's kind of more of a site-based testing approach that we've had some great success and really important partnering with either the world language teachers or counselors, typically at the school, that have that direct connection to the students and can kind of recruit them, let them know about this testing. And then we do a site-based registration process, get them signed up, and then usually show up with headphones and some snacks and get kids testing.
And I just want to mention that it's really been important to make this as low stakes as possible. So, you know, they come and they test, and then, you know, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out very well that day for them, then they can retest again sometime, like in 6 months or something like that. So we think it's really important to not have them leave with a judgment about their skills based on a test that maybe didn't work out well for them. Although I have to say the vast majority of them do really well. And because one of our major tests, the standards-based measurement of proficiency, is a test that is adaptive, computer adaptive, you know, students generally leave from the test feeling like they did a great job because they did. They got answers, they got questions and items that they were really capable of doing.
So we wanted to just at least make sure we were sharing how we're doing our best to approach this in case this is something you're really thinking about getting up and going right now. And so it definitely has been a transition to what we had, which was a really, and still have, was a really strong approach and program for world language credit testing, to how do we keep the momentum and make sure students are still getting this opportunity when we're in a remote learning environment. And so we really have continued to follow the same approach in prioritizing and recruiting our students. So we are wanting to make sure we're offering all of the language tests possible to reach the wide range of languages that our students speak in Seattle Public Schools. And then we've taken two kind of approaches or options specifically to do remote testing. And so some of the testing companies, really most of them, offer an independent option that we just contract with them, and the students still register with us, and then we get them set up with the testing companies such as Avant for Stamp, and they take the test at individually with an Avant proctor at a time they schedule with Avant. And then we collect those results and go through the same process as we would have if we were giving the test in person. We'll be doing that with some students. And then a second option is really doing the same approach we were doing with our centralized location at Seattle World School, but we're just doing it remotely now. And so we have a registration page. Students can sign up and choose a date once a month on a Saturday. And then we have a team of about 6 proctors right now that we're using to just make sure we have kind of increased support with some of the technology pieces that can come up. And so we use our Seattle Public Schools team of proctors. And then we're currently using Microsoft Teams because that's what we use here in our district. But the testing companies have let us know that, you know, a range of platforms such as Zoom or other things could also work in this setting. And then lastly, you know, we are aware that this still limits some students' access to maybe technology or testing. And so we're really trying to kind of get this approach going, and it's so far been successful, but we are exploring options to just figure out how might we increase testing for students that are not able to sign up for either of these two options, which depending on the health climate, it could potentially be some small group testing or physical testing. Sorry about that sound noise issue there.
So 2015 was the first year that Seattle schools, in fact, all the districts in the state were able to actually have students earn the Seal of Biliteracy. And I should mention that we have sort of two: demonstrate your proficiency, that's the language results of the partner language, you could say. And then when you graduate high school, that's when you demonstrate that you've met the high school graduation requirement for English, and that's why you earn the seal. So these numbers don't reflect all the students that had demonstrated proficiency, but just those that were graduating seniors. And so in that first year, as you can see, we had 195, that seems like that's the wrong number, it doesn't quite match up. But anyway, we had a lot for advanced placement, for international baccalaureate. We have 2 high schools that offer that. And then we had over 20 languages where students earned 4 credits in the competency-based credits. So between 2017 and 2020, this is that since 2017 then, we've had, as you can see, a lot of students earn it for advanced placement. Advanced placement language courses are probably the most frequent in the high schools throughout the district. IB, as I mentioned, is in 2 schools, and students from everywhere could test for the competency-based credits. And you can see that we have many languages. Again, these are just the ones that had a large enough number of students that we could share the names of the languages, but they're very varied. And Seattle works with partners with the Washington Association for Language Teaching to reach some of those languages like Oromo that are not offered through most of the nationally available assessments. So the Global Seal of Biliteracy, we were super excited when that got announced, and I guess it was the fall of 2018 that we were in the first districts that were able to offer the Global Seal. The Global Seal is, well, obviously, if you're at this conference, you probably know what the Global Seal of Biliteracy is, but the thing that made it attractive to us is that it offered more levels for the Seal of Biliteracy. Our Seal of Biliteracy in Washington State is at the intermediate mid-level, but a lot of our students, both the native and heritage speakers that take the competency-based credit testing, as well as our students in their lives. This is actually global seals that were earned for students at the level of working fluency or advanced level. So you can see we got quite a lot in all these different languages. So we're really excited.
And as we kind of begin to wrap up here, as we're close to our 30-minute time frame, we did just want to kind of close with the idea that we know there is lots of value in the Seal of Biliteracy, or the Global Seal of Biliteracy, for our emergent bilingual students. And I think many points of the video reiterated that. And again, just the power of being able to offer something not just for maybe our top 3 or 4 languages, but really the large range of diversity and languages that we have across our district and other districts in the region. So there definitely are some kind of tips or things to take away around this. You know, thinking about maybe what your role is and how to learn more or get involved. We put a few bullet points here that it can start as small as just advocacy and kind of connecting with students and families on this, all the way up to working within your district or state to identify what may already be in place or what you could begin to put in place. And we have provided a little bit of information here, both with the World Language Credit Testing overview, as well as information about the Seal of Biliteracy on our Seattle Schools International Education webpage. So do click those links to learn more, as well as our contact information here if you have questions and would like to reach out.
Thank you so much to Global C.R.E.D for creating this amazing conference where we get to share information like this. And we hope that people will be interested in seeing our report here and the experience of one district that was very fortunate, especially with the Gates Foundation funding that our district, our region received to get this going. But believe me, it's phenomenal to see the looks in the eyes of the students and the families when they realize that we are walking the talk. We say that we value other cultures, but this is a very concrete way that we can do it. And
So,
thanks.
yes, thank you. And thank you for joining today.